Welcome to the December 29th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference. Please be patient. We'll do our best to be efficient and let everyone participate. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be aware of what you say, how you say it, what can be seen and heard in your background. This meeting is also being broadcast and streamed online by FCTV. We have a full house of staff members: Jen, Kevin, Alyssa, Mark, Amy, and Susan. Actually, I'm not sure if Susan's here.
No, Susan is not here, so we'll have her do this off the recording.
Okay, perfect. And we have all commissioners except for Peter Walsh. So let's see, to our public participants, there will be an opportunity for public comment for each hearing. We don't have any hearings, so that's kind of not necessary. All right, so this meeting is really just for order conditions from December 12th, if I remember right.
Correct. 16th, I believe.
16th, I'm sorry. All right, so without further ado, first on the agenda is the vote order conditions. First one is Ji Soo Lee and Cynthia Tung, trustees, 75 Madeline Road, nominee trust, 75 Madeline Road, East Falmouth, Mass. Jen?
Chairman, hang on one second. So the board would remember it's just basically a basic raise and rebuild. This is the one that had that really big, long cobblestone edge. Some of the staff's concerns off the top of my head. Kevin, if you could pull up the staff report if you haven't already. Is we were just kind of, I think, concerned with the removal of some of the trees. I think there was that 14-inch pine that we had identified near that cobblestone edge, pretty close to the house. And whether or not they needed to take down the existing kind of landscape walls. I think that's what I have. I don't have that staff report right in front of me. I apologize. But other than that, I think the staff didn't have too many concerns about that. That's the one that had that odd bulkhead along the shoreline. Do you remember it? Betsy, you're muted. So I think the only thing.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, the thing the staff picked out was whether or not those landscape walls needed to come down during construction, or what they were going to do with them. And then they said they weren't removing any trees, but I'm not quite sure that pine is going to make it.
They were leaving the walls to either side of that.
Yeah.
They were going to take up the concrete
That's
walkway
a
that went
concrete
down,
walkway.
and basically they're going to fill it up so it's at grade.
Well, actually, I think what Mike said was they were going to bury the concrete walkways, and someone had a concern.
Well, he didn't say. He didn't say, but Peter asked about it.
Yeah, Peter,
said, no.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and he said, no, we intend to pull up those concrete things.
Okay, so we're just gonna make a special condition. Those need to be
removed.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't say, and so Peter asked.
I think he did when Peter asked the question. I think he did say that their intention was to bury them, and then Peter made the statement that it would be like almost impervious
surface
soil. So he did say he would pull them up.
Right.
But we should just make a special condition just to ensure that. And I'll make a note about the 14-inch pine. I don't think it's going to make it, but if they can save it, that's fine. It's going to be tough, though, when you look at, where it is in the landscape and everything. Anything else, guys?
There's no generator, AC, or in station on the plan.
No.
So if they want one, to come back as an amendment.
Okay.
So if they take that pine down, are you gonna want something in place?
Yeah, so I'll make sure that, I'm writing that down, a special condition if the 14-inch pine, you know, near the cobblestone edge is removed or damaged, you know, it would need to be replaced.
I don't know, is Steve really joining us from the tropics?
Yes,
Yes.
Lucky you.
it's my birthday tomorrow.
My birthday's coming up too, but I don't think I'm gonna
I
have
don't care.
tropics. Oh, you don't care?
No. This week's my week.
Well, I'm
Wow.
happy for you.
I was saying,
right.
Betsy, you got to get up and see that the Fish and Games project. If you haven't been up there. Well,
Well, I
Farmington
haven't
Club.
I haven't been up in the last month or so. So,
oh, man. A lot
I'll-
of work.
yeah, it's great.
Looks like your stuff.
Big equipment in the marsh.
All right, sorry to interrupt this with business, but where are we
Sorry,
at with the order
Chairman.
conditions? Everybody happy?
Yes.
Anybody want to see anything else?
I'll make a motion that we accept as discussed.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the order conditions as discussed and conditioned. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Ernie, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks eye.
RSI.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We've accepted this order conditions. Excuse me. Next up, Robert Carlson, trustee of the 142 Bay Shore Drive Nominee Trust, 142, 148 Bay Shore Drive, Falmouth, Mass. This is the fence.
This was to pull back the existing fence that was rebuilt, replace that, the juniper with some Rosa virginiana, and I think that was about it. It was just to kind of make more of a, kind of a low area between the two houses.
And remove the cinder block wall. that's-
Yep, they're gonna enclose, some area on the side of the house to store furniture. And I think that's about it. And they're removing a propane tank and generator. And they, presented evidence that the fence that was rebuilt, or they presented evidence that the fence had was
Always been there.
back in the 70s.
And the issue was that it was in the velocity zone.
Correct. But I mean, they did kind of pull that back a bit.
Right, and then remove the cinder block wall or whatever that
Yeah.
solid wall was.
All right, anybody have anything they want to put in there?
My only concern always with these fences and things like that is that, yeah, they were there, but were they permitted to be there?
It
Um,
was, they presented evidence that it was prior to 1979. That was what I asked.
Yeah.
And that's why they had to come back.
If we allow,
I don't even know if I'm on the quorum.
if we allow the fence as proposed, there needs to be a finding that they carried their burden of proof that the fence existed prior to the regulatory provisions prohibiting it in the velocity zone.
Okay.
Should there also be a finding that the fence was there when we went out to look at the site, asking for permission to put the fence there?
I will write whatever you guys would like me to write. 9,
Anybody have anything special they'd like in there? All right, what are you thinking?
I'll make a motion to accept as discussed.
Bird, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anything else? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Ernie, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter, I'm sorry, Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have an order of conditions. Thank you. Next up, Joe Jackson, 0 Bywater Court, parcel 023, lot 016, Falmouth, Mass. Ben,
Excuse me. This is Bywater Court Part 2. They have pulled the house back so it sits right on that Zone A buffer to land under water body, but the lawn still encroaches within that Zone A buffer. They are offering an extensive planting plan to improve the wildlife habitat value on the lot where none, and I probably mean 0, exists currently. But still, in a strict reading of your regulation, the staff's opinion that it you still have that 11-foot encroachment into that Zone A buffer. So I think the board needs to determine whether or not you feel that the project overall is either overcome the presumption or improves the wildlife habitat value.
And could I also suggest that, like the last matter, if the applicant carried the burden of proof to establish that that area had been altered prior to the establishment of the relevant regulations, that 10-foot, 11-foot lawn would be allowed. But if they can't do what you suggested, the shifting the presumption or providing necessary evidence for that finding that it was there prior to the establishment of the relevant regulations, we can't, in my opinion, allow the lawn where it's proposed. In the A
They
zone.
did present, I don't have them with me, guys, sorry. Some aerial photos, if I can pull them up. So you, but I don't know if the board finds those conclusive or not. That is a discussion you guys will need to have. Let me see if I can pull them up.
I have a question on the evidence that they provided. Did they show definitively that the thing had been altered and maintained as altered since prior to 79? Or was it
they
just
showed
areas?
pictures to that effect.
Well, they did point out that, in fact, the whole area used to be a marsh, and it's filled marshland.
But that was prior to that whole area being developed, which was developed prior to 1979, correct?
Right.
And
So
they
I-
showed, and
I mean, you're right, Betsy, but in terms of our regulations, is that relevant?
well, I mean, they did show some places there was some bushes, but not nearly as much vegetation as some of the other areas in that, in that cul-de-sac area. I think that
Hang on, guys. I'm
one of
bringing it.
the relevant things that staff pointed out was that the house is built right on the line between the A zone and the B zone, which means that there has to be a 10-foot work limit. But in fact, as Tom pointed out, many of our projects, the houses are already in the A zone and there's additional work that's done. And as long as there's lawn, there's a work limit that's put in the lawn, and that's what they're proposing.
Yes, but you're blending that with development. And then I think that was brought up at your last hearing. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. You really do need to separate that when you, examples like you're talking about, Betsy, I absolutely agree when it is redevelopment. Does the
Well,
board,
I'm just saying,
yeah, no, I'm just saying, but you
I'm
need
just
to
saying you
decide-
can have that. And they're saying, here's something that's basically a cleared lot. Now, whether it's legally cleared or not, we don't know. But in that case where it's lawn, they're not destroying any more habitat by having that 10-foot limit. I mean, it's already lawn.
Right.
And they're adding a 30-foot strip or however many.
So the first question really is, do we accept the evidence that they provided that the thing had been altered and maintained prior to 1979? If we accept
do you want to
that,
see, I have it pulled up. If you guys want to see it, I can share the screen.
Sure, why not?
You see it?
yep,
Okay. So he's calling out this area lawn. That tree was permitted to be removed, or there was a tree that was permitted to be removed on the site. So, you guys good?
Yep.
I just don't want you to blend development and redevelopment. That will bring you guys down a very slippery slope, so.
I also think there's a distinction to be made between allowing that limit of work, which is temporary, and allowing a lawn to exist there within the A buffer in perpetuity.
Well, the lawn already exists.
Right, but is it legally existing? That's the finding that we need to make.
Well,
Well,
that's what
they-
the pictures were to do.
Yeah, the picture was from 75. So
Mhm.
the board finds the pictures to be sufficient evidence. Again, this area was lawn. Now, scale wise, I can't figure out where I'm thinking the house would probably be. I mean, the house is pushed up very close. This roadway hasn't changed all that much. So this isn't obviously to scale, or I can't scale it. So I'm assuming the house is somewhere like right here where this circle is. Nope, I have no idea what I'm doing. If I had to guess, because it's only 25 feet off the road. So kind of gives you some there, but this area does appear to have been cleared. I think I have another aerial too.
Jamie, at some point I have another comment to make.
Go ahead.
And the
But-
comment is, there were several people who, in the last hearing, mentioned that this is the water body there is impaired, it smells, there's phragmites along it. But I just want to point out, in all of our hearings, of course, we're going to find areas that are impaired. But one of our objectives is to condition projects so that these areas can improve. Things can be rehabilitated. I'm just saying that to have that in your mind the next few weeks as well.
So
Well, that's what
that's
I'm
an
saying.
improvement in itself, you know.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I'm just saying. It's not trivial to provide a vegetated buffer there, not only for the water body itself, but obviously also, you know, for other things that it does, including habitat value.
So let me see if I can deal with the issue. So one of the questions that comes up, and this is what's prompted these, look at our regulations about structure, is that there was no house on that lot, even though, let's assume for the record that it was altered prior to 79, and therefore it's altered. However, the question came up, all right, since it was altered, it's redevelopment, they can throw a house on it.
No.
But
No,
that's.
it's not
that-
redevelopment, Courtney.
Well, let me finish. So, but we're saying, no, we're not allowing that. However, the lot, in my mind, the lot was altered prior. So they are, and I think it's a reasonable finding to say that what they're proposing to do with the restoration plannings is an improvement, and that's a plus for the
This was a
project.
bitch.
And that lawn existed there, so a 10-foot area of lawn, I don't know what the square footage is, but we should know that, is existed prior to, so it's fine to leave it. I'm fine with that. I think we definitely have to deal with the issue of structure, but we're not having to deal with it here. The only issue that we're hung up on is whether or not there's enough, whether or not that we've got this lawn, a piece of lawn that existed before. Now, the lawn is going to get altered while they construct, but they're proposing to restore it to whatever it was before. I mean, that's in effect what's happened.
Actually, Courtney, let me just jump in. The lawn isn't, I mean, the lawn, yeah, will be destroyed. I mean, obviously during construction, but the lawn area itself is not gonna change.
Right, that's what I mean.
Lawn.
It'll stay long.
All is said
It'll
and done,
stay lawn.
yeah.
So, it's different in that sense than the other project you've seen where, you have a vegetated buffer. So,
Yeah, this is completely different from that project we had out in East Falmouth, where the whole lot was vegetated. A was vegetated, B was vegetated, and they were gonna build in B, but they had to leave 10 feet between the AB line and the house so that A was not touched at all. This is a completely different situation.
I'm just gonna say that the one thing that I find difficult on this project is, and I know it's only 1 foot, but we usually require a 10-foot area around a structure for maintenance and everything else. They did, I think, originally have in the last proposal a 15-foot area of lawn around the house. They've reduced that to 11. Why don't just make it 10, like the board allows? I don't know. It's just a silly thing, but it's just that incremental push.
It is clear that if we're going to approve this, that you've got to make findings that this is a very unique situation, and that the conditions are special to this. That the lot in question had been altered prior to 79, as the aerials show, and so we're allowing lawn to be retained, and that the benefit of extensive restoration is a plus as far as the project is concerned. And
Jen, if you're concerned, I don't think any of us will would have a problem with that 1 foot that you're concerned with be the position of a fence between the lawn and,
Oh, definitely. The other thing is, and it is a tough project, guys. It's tough. There's no way around this one. The proposal, with the restoration obviously will greatly enhance the wildlife habitat value on the lot. The tough part is you don't have a scale of what was cleared versus what wasn't over 75. And you're saying that, okay, we can allow this because this area it looked like on the aerials was legally cleared prior to 75, even though we don't have an exact scale and it's not, we have limitations for that with the aerials and everything else. But we're forgetting about the other half of the lot that was vegetated back in 75. And then I think Pat brought up at one of the first hearings or maybe even the prior project, was that the area where they want to place the house was vegetated. So,
it's in the B- it's in
really
the B
do have to
zone.
make very, very clear and very specific findings to this case, because you don't want to,
Become a precedent.
become a precedent or have them challenge the decision so that the prior project can be approved. We've seen that in the past. So be very careful when you're having this discussion, when you're making your findings, that's very specific to this proposal because of past projects we've had where a project's gone before you've denied that project, it's come back, it's slightly shifted or reduced in size or scope, and then come to find out through an appeal process and everything else, the original project is settled or approved. So I just want you to be careful with that.
So one of the findings,
And if
Hold
she
on,
wants.
hold on. Maury?
I just had two comments, basically. So Jen's comment about the entire bee buffer being basically denuded that is vegetated. It's basically a swap. That concerns me. Precedent always concerns me in our regulations that we open up Pandora's box and this will bite us no matter what findings we have. The other issue that I had with this project is they never really reduced the size of the house. I look at these projects and they're always getting what they want, which is the large house. You go down some of these roads and there are little teeny capes, there are small ranches. This is a McMansion. They did not pull it back. They had enough area to make a smaller house and not be making us sit here for 15 minutes to deliberate over the 10 feet that we would not give them in an A buffer zone. So I agree that the vegetation is a great enhancement to that property. And there's no denying that it will improve the environment and the habitat and the nitrogen uptake, but it's also making us make a decision to allow something we don't allow, which is the 10-foot into the A buffer, because this is not redevelopment, it's new construction. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Betsy?
so I just want to point out that we do have, part of our regulations say that if there is buffer removal in the B buffer, which obviously if there was vegetation here prior, at some point it was removed and it's still removed, but it's not going to grow back if there's a house, but they have to show an improvement. One of the things is you have to show an improvement to the environment. And I think we've already discussed those issues.
All right, anybody have anything else? All right, so,
Does anybody remember if we incorporated the prior project into this one? Because I just want to, and Pat, maybe you could just weigh in quickly on this, because I want to make it clear that, they did, if the board is going to approve this, that, this case is a bit different than the last case, because the last case, they did not overcome the presumption or provide that burden of proof. And in this case, the board seems to be leaning that they have done that.
Right.
And I don't remember if we've incorporated it, and would it be inappropriate to kind of compare the two in a finding sense?
I think you did, but I can't remember for sure.
I'll have to go back in the minutes and
but
look.
I think you
Why
did.
don't we- why don't we just say now that we're incorporating it into the record?
Because
Dismiss,
the record's closed.
Because the record's closed.
oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm sorry. All right. I can just, I mean, it was very clear at the last decision that they did not provide that burden of proof. That's the way those findings were written, was that they did not the project did not provide the evidence the board needed to issue an approval. I mean, that was very clear in the findings of the last decision, that is why this board had to make the decision that it did. So I just want to make sure that I'm very clear in this decision that additional evidence was submitted and this board finds A, B, and C.
Mhm.
I think we discussed that length.
The way you're gonna go.
Jamie, you have to figure,
Yes.
I mean, I don't have the quorums with me.
I have everybody.
Everybody was on all the hearings?
Yeah,
Well, I don't have it listed separate. I have a note that says the quorum was everyone. You want the last one?
No, but you're gonna have to choose between Pat and Mark.
They are,
What,
Hang
Maureen?
on, guys. Hold on. Wait a minute.
When we closed the hearing, everybody was on it.
I know, but you can only 7 people can vote. So we have 6 commissioners and 2 alternates, Pat and Mark. So you have to,
Okay,
they are.
so for the purpose of this vote, I'll call up Mark to the forum.
Did you get
That
that?
came up.
Yeah, it was everybody. I have both the agendas here for,
okay, I mean, once I pass it on to you, I don't keep any of that information.
I understand that, but I can't get into the office to get those quorum sheets right now. So I have agendas with my handwritten notes on, I write who's at every hearing on each agenda. And it was all of you. So, good.
Jamie keeps those notes too.
That's all right. You can trust Jen, not me. It's all right. I get it. All right, where are we at? So if we accept the pictures, then it comes down to, are we going to accept an order of conditions as discussed, or are we not? Is that fair to say? Anybody?
Okay, so I'll put a positive motion on the table. We accept the
To
order.
accept the order conditions as discussed.
Yes.
Bird,
Okay.
second.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to accept the order conditions as discussed. Is there anything else? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Ernie, aye.
Maury,
Hello Hawks, no.
Steve.
Pat and I.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is 6-1. The motion passes. We have issued an order of conditions. Thank you for all that.
This was a
Thank you,
hard one.
everybody.
This was a hard one for everybody, I think.
It was a
Yeah,
difficult
it's-
one.
Yeah.
This was
It's
not an
tough.
easy one. And when I went out in the field with Teresa and the very first time we went out there to look at it, I told them they had their work cut out for them. This was This was a tough one.
Let's look at the positive of it. I mean, it's the majority of the lot's gonna get vegetated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean,
There you go.
Maury, I heard what you said. I think they did make the house probably, you know, almost as
feet.
small as they could. I mean, considering they were maxed out at the front, you know. I don't know. It is a tough one. Being on the Resiliency Action Committee, it was even tougher because, you know, the whole area is gonna get inundated at some point.
Yep.
But equal opportunity. So thanks for your diligence on that, everyone.
And Happy New Year to everybody.
Wait a
Hold
minute,
on,
we
we're not
still have
done.
one more.
Oh,
We're
gosh.
not done. One more. Next up, vote abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. Sarah Chirano Flores, Nutter and McClellan and Fish, LLP, 24 Willis Lane, Falmouth, Mass. Jen,
This was to approve the delineation of the salt marsh, the BVW, the coastal dune. Staff is in agreement with the salt marsh. We met out in the field with Epsilon, Jack Vaccaro of Epsilon. We were concerned with the placement of 2 or 3 of the BVW flags. Those have been all modified, so we're in agreement with that. And then this is the case where we had Greg Berman, the coastal geologist of the county, come and look at the coastal dune delineation, where they, it kind of was comparing the landward toe of the dune. And it was basically, you know, we had to base it either on topography or geology. And I think Greg asked for coastal dune flag number 8. It is the one closest to the boardwalk. Might have the number incorrect, but I believe it's coastal dune flag number 8. To be landward about, I think, 5 feet. I'd have to check the minutes. I don't have those
5
right
feet.
in front of me. I can't get into the office. So we will make a finding that dune flag does need to be shifted landward. It's really not going to, I think, impact the project very much. The pivot point, the closest point to the coastal dune is actually coastal dune flag number 1 over in the far east side of the lot. That corner of the house is the closest point. Dune flag number 8 is over by the boardwalk and is much farther away from the house, but we do have to have that delineation correct. So does the board want to see that flag moved landward, either the 5 to 10 feet? And again, I don't have Greg's.
Yeah, I mean, go along with Greg's suggestion.
Okay.
they accepted that anyway, right? I mean, they
Yeah, they
acknowledged
did.
it.
Yeah, the real, like I said, that critical point is dune flag number 1. And then I did have them, the information you received, I did have them do an additional transect. They had done 3 transects. I had them do an additional transect over by coastal dune flag number 1 because I wanted to see that in a transect. Greg did review that as well, and found that flag was appropriately placed, so. Or within professional judgment, so we're gonna go with that.
This was another really interesting project, and thank Greg for contributing that for us.
Oh, you'll see the project again, and there's some very unique ideas once the house is built on how to protect it. Very interesting. You might see Greg again.
Oh, the project coming up? You have a,
This
you have a
this was
preview?
just to set the delineation
Right.
process of designing the house. So, and there was some discussion out in the field about how to protect the house. So I don't know what Epsilon is gonna come up with, but, right now they're in the process of designing the house. So this is just to set the delineation. This has nothing to do with the construction of the house. So you will be seeing this parcel again, at least once more for the house and possibly more than that for an additional project. I don't know what they're gonna do.
All right, let's stick with what's in front of us.
Yeah, so
So do you
So
need,
is there any questions, comments?
want a motion?
I believe so.
I'll make a motion to accept the order as discussed.
Bird, second.
Okay, so we're accepting the lines of delineation. Is that correct, Jen?
correct, yes,
Okay.
With the modification that we made.
With the adjustments, yes.
yeah.
All right, anything else? Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Ernie, I.
Maury,
Arlo Hawks, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
Excellent. It is unanimous. We have accepted as discussed. Excuse me. One more motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Bird, second.
All right. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Ernie, I.
Maury,
Arlo Hawks, aye.
Harris, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Justin, you can
Thank you,
stop recording.
guys.